Hello, and welcome to Musings from the Mystics. I'm Marnie.
And I'm Natalie. We are your guides on this crazy and sometimes tumultuous journey we call the human experience.
Each episode will share our musings about the current energetic climate,
how we're navigating these times,
and tips to help you get the most out of your journey.
So join us to be awakened, empowered,
and expand into conscious action. Hello.
Hi, everyone.
We are interrupting our regularly scheduled program to bring this latest download I've received. And so today we are talking about the frequency of alignment.
And what exactly does that mean?
I'm so glad you asked. So we have so many memes, so many posts, so many people speaking about the only frequency to embody and to achieve is love, or joy is sort of a new one now. There are constant reminders to find your joy, to find your bliss, to be in the energy of love. But what if love and joy aren't your natural frequency, aren't the frequency that you are most aligned with, as is in my case? Does that make you bad or wrong or needing to be fixed in some way?
No.
I say absolutely not.
No, it does not.
So today we are going to talk about the frequency of alignment. And if you aren't fitting in the box that is being presented to you of love or joy, I have a different perspective to share.
Let's hear it.
All
I
right.
can't wait. I am ready.
So love, like many, many words, has a lot of baggage. A lot of baggage, right? There is a lot of conditioning and programming around what that word means. And it gets filtered through our ego and through our personal experiences and what we think it means. And love in particular is so loaded and also has lost its power, I think, because we use it so willy-nilly.
Totally. Well, like, I love pizza.
Right?
I love you. I love flowers. I was actually watching a movie the other day and it was in Europe and they were like, you Americans use love for everything. And we do. It's, I love this. I love that. And so because you use it so often, it has lost its power and nobody knows exactly what you mean.
Right. So how do you embody this love sort of, ultimate frequency? So the frequency of love that the gurus, the mystics, the healers, the teachers are referring to is not the love that the ego understands, but rather a particular frequency or vibration within the cosmic field. So you can think of the word love as a blanket term to describe that frequency.
Yes, and you can use many words for it too, which I'm sure you're going to explain some of those words to us. But I actually want to say too, I have an oracle deck that's a dragon deck. And it's funny because one of the dragons is peace. And in that deck, the person who made that deck got their download that said peace is their word for love, because love is so... I don't even know what the right word is.
Overused?
Overused.
Diluted? Diluted.
Diluted. That's exactly what I was thinking of.
Yeah. So for me, I have spent many years trying to achieve, to get to, or grasp that energy as my mind understands it, right? Because I'm in a human vehicle and that is my vehicle for understanding the world. And I've tried both love and the more recent one, joy. Joy proved to be just as challenging because that is not my natural state of being, not how I move through the world. And so I felt as though I was doing it wrong, or that something was wrong with me. And that's key. And sure, I have experienced both love and joy, but those things don't feel like the exhale, that sigh, or that ultimate alignment, or the hell yes energy that it's supposed to. So recently I was doing an oracle reading with my Lyran oracle deck, and I received this image that so captivated me. It was almost like I went into a trance. Time stopped. I know you remember me talking about this.
I do.
And I was held in place by the beauty of this card. It touched me in a way that other things just don't. It spoke to my soul. And I heard very clearly, for you, it is not love or joy. It is beauty that is your frequency. And it was like the angels started singing. It was like, oh, I get it. Everything clicked into place. And I felt that hell yes, right? It rippled through my body. And at once I understood that my personal frequency of alignment is not love or joy. It is beauty. Now, if you were ever in the room with me or face to face, you can see my face and I talk about this and I say the word beauty, my face, literally everything about my energy completely shifts. You see the alignment.
Yeah, you light up. Totally light up.
Right.
Yes.
And if you could see that, if you could be in the room when someone finds that alignment, you see how vitally important it is for you to achieve what that frequency is for you, right? And it may not be love or joy for you either. And it might also be, but perhaps conditioning needs to be peeled away and redefined. Like we were talking about, love is so diluted, it's so overused. Redefine what that frequency is for you. And there are many words that could resonate at your perfect frequency. Like you were saying, like fun or play, which seem like, how could those be big, achieving, why would I want to achieve fun, whatever. But if that is the frequency that lights you up and brings you completely into alignment, then why not?
Right.
Yeah. It could also be adventure or excitement. Maybe it's freedom or peace. Although Natalie and I were talking about this earlier, in my estimation, as I understand it, if you find the word of alignment for you, that energy, the frequency of alignment for you, that ultimately peace and freedom are achieved.
Yeah, they're your
It's the
outcome.
result. Yeah,
yes.
the result of that being in that. Because when I am in the essence of beauty, I feel completely free. I feel completely at peace. Right? So it doesn't mean those can't be your words. And also I want you to know that when you find your word, that is the result. So it is worth
finding your word.
finding your word that resonates at the frequency, right? It's important that it's resonating at that frequency for you. So, if all the input you're receiving about the vibe you quote unquote should be embodying aren't getting you there, right? Or you are trying to achieve something that isn't lighting you up, like love or joy wasn't lighting me up, I hope this shift in perspective will help you find what is most aligned for you. So when I say words like love and joy, I'm not talking about loving someone or being loved by someone. I'm not talking about giving joy or receiving joy from someone. Those are human interactions. Those are akin to love language, if you will. Not the frequency and energy that I'm talking about. So what I'm talking about is soul language. And this came as like an inspired thought. Soul language, which is the language you speak to yourself. You experience it within and you radiate it out. And it has nothing to do with other people.
No.
And I think that's a really important key point, is that finding your frequency of alignment has nothing to do with other people.
No. And we hear it again. You said like it's the buzzword now. So follow your bliss, follow your joy. Exactly. Like, but there are so many, and I was even there like, I don't know what that
mean.
is. I don't know what that is. I don't know what that means. So How would I do that?
So I want to just say quickly, because I didn't say this in the beginning, when I speak of vibration and frequency, though these do have different meanings, I am using them interchangeably because what I'm talking about is an energy here today. So don't get hung up on whether I say vibration or frequency or like, what am I trying to find? That isn't the important. What I'm talking about is an energy that you're trying to get into an alignment with.
Yeah,
So
something you want to embody.
something you want to embody, yes. And that we could go into what the heck does that mean? What does embodying mean? When you find your word, your frequency, you're going to know it. There is no question in your mind. You'll be like, oh my God, okay, this is it.
Well, and not only will you know it, you're going to feel it.
Yes.
Just like you said that,
right.
This is it. It's going to be everywhere. It's going to be in your mind, in your energy field, just an all over, like you said, outcome of that peace
Yes.
or that freedom. Like, this is it. This is really it.
Yeah.
So how do I find it?
How do you find it? Okay, so this is what unless you have an oracle deck and you want to try that, you certainly could. It was not what I was expecting when that happened. It was a message coming in to me to show me something. I don't even remember the context of the questions I was asking that day, but that was the message that I received. But you could certainly try that. Here's some other things. So finding your vibe or frequency, I want you to think about, when did you feel amazing? Okay. When were you in a moment of hell yes? When did you want the moment to last forever? Or you felt so good in the moment that you weren't thinking or grasping or trying or worrying or anything else. You were completely in that moment. Now, we live in a culture and society that unfortunately has a hard time with this concept of being in the moment. We're always, reaching back or grasping forward. But think about that. When did that happen? And this doesn't have to be some big life-changing moment. This could be something very simple. So don't be like, okay, when was the last time I was the happiest I've ever been? That may feel a little too hard to achieve.
And daunting.
Daunting, right?
And if they're few and far between for you, you may be overwhelmed in addition to that. So we're not trying to create more stress in your life.
Right.
We're trying to give you some tips on how to get to that.
And think about that moment and then try to locate, what were you feeling? Or what were the actions that were happening, right? So it's important to note that some people might have very action-oriented vibrations and some be more stagnant. Like beauty isn't necessarily an action, but adventure or excitement are definitely more active.
Correct.
So it doesn't have to be one or the other. So what were you feeling? What were you thinking? And trying to locate the frequency that most resonates with your alignment. So you have a moment. Can you give us an example of when you maybe can you, I'm putting you totally on the spot.
I can find it pretty easily if I go for a hike. If I am out in the woods, in nature, by the water, with the trees, that is I'm going to use the word blissful moment for me. There's no outside world. There's nobody pulling at me. Nobody needs my attention. Nobody needs me to help do any of the above. I'm there for me. And it's enjoyable. And I can talk to the trees and I can get messages or downloads. And it's very peaceful for me. So that's
so what do you think your that alignment word might be?
I always said freedom, and I know that's an outcome too, but I still think it's freedom. And I think it's freedom for me because I have a teenage son, I have a husband, I have responsibilities, like I have all these things pulling at me, and when I'm there, again,
nothing is pulling at
there's
you.
no expectations, there's no I have to be XYZ, I have to do XYZ, I'm just there, and it feels peaceful and it feels very free.
And I imagine there's this beautiful energetic exchange between you and nature that you're experiencing.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And it was funny too, like I remember the first time it happened, and I hike regularly. But the trees actually spoke to me, which you all can think I'm strange, I don't mind. And I was like, "Oh, wow. This is so cool." And I was in that moment of I called I couldn't get out of the woods soon enough to call my sister and say, "Oh my gosh, you're never going to believe this. Guess what just happened?" But it was because I had no expectations, and I wasn't like thinking, "Oh, this is ridiculous. I can't talk to trees." It just kind of happened, and I was like,
So
amazed.
yours might actually be communing with nature.
It very well could be. Yes.
So when you say those words, do you feel that inside?
I do. I do. And it's different too. It's different when I hike with somebody else, or depending upon who's there with me. It's definitely more intense when I'm alone. And I'm not sure why, but I definitely feel the difference.
Interesting. Okay. So that's what we're talking about. Find those moments, and then you might not have an answer right away. You may have to sort of feel into it and start trying on words. Communing with nature, nature alone. Is it water? Is it actually trees? Is it, the earth? Is it freedom? Start to like play with the words that of the feelings that you're experiencing. Write them down, and then you're gonna be like, oh yeah, that's like, you're gonna know. Play with it a little bit.
And it doesn't have to be, and even if you write those words down, it doesn't have to be a specific word.
That's true.
Either. You can just have that feeling.
Experience.
And feel that feeling and be like, this was it for me. And maybe you'll come up with a word eventually, and it might not be immediate, but at least have that feeling.
The feeling, yes, because it's the energy here that matters.
Correct.
Which is exactly what we were saying in the beginning. Love is a word, but it's so diluted and it's been over abused. So it's the energy that we're actually trying to get to. So I'll give you some other examples. If you love say I just used the word, lost in reading or cooking or crafts or decorating, energies of creativity may be your frequency.
And I'm going to jump in here too, because sometimes we don't think of it this way. I had an experience yesterday where I stood in my kitchen and I reorganized my kitchen. I moved rugs around, I put the leaf back in the table, and I was in that moment, but it felt good. But somebody would say, like, you're just rearranging or you're just organizing. But if that works for you, again, it doesn't matter what somebody else thinks about it. It's that feeling. And that felt really good yesterday.
Yeah. And I was going to say this at the end, but I'll mention it now. And that is that you can have one strong overall vibration, or you could have many. It doesn't have to be one thing. Because for me, my word is beauty, but I experience it in many different ways. It isn't just looking at that amazing Lyran Oracle card. I experience it in many ways whenever I can stop and be in awe of a beautiful flower, or the way a room is arranged, or a paint color on the wall, right? That brings in that energy for me. So here's some other examples. When you are traveling or going to a new place, is it the new activity that lights you up? Right? So that could be adventure or fun, right? Those could be your words, or excitement. Or is it seeing beautiful architecture, art, gardens, homes, landscapes that makes your heart flutter? Then your frequency may also be beauty.
Absolutely.
So the point is, find your frequency. Let go of, jump out of the box. Break the walls down of that box that say you must be in the frequency of love or joy. Because if those don't work for you, if you're not finding that alignment, if it feels elusive, then those carry too much baggage. They aren't the frequency for you. What is important is that you find the frequency for you. I'm a triple Aquarian. We are about community and mind and joy, and just that isn't how I move through the world.
Right.
That just isn't how I move through the world. And so I was beginning to feel as though I guess I'm just not going to get that. I'm not going to feel that frequency. My job here is to do XYZ. Here's my sole purpose, and I'm going to do that. And I don't get to be in that energy because I don't know it. It doesn't feel like anything to me. And when I found beauty, it was like the world opened up. Mm-hmm. And that seems like a very large statement, but it felt like, oh my God, okay, now I understand, right? Now I can move through the world embodying that frequency, because now that I know it, I can bring it into any given moment and move from that place of
Absolutely.
that frequency, and then everything changes.
And that's a great place to be.
It is a great place to be.
Now, on the flip side of this, I just want to say, because Marnie and I, we talk obviously a lot, but she opened my eyes to something a couple weeks ago, and I do certain things, like when I wake up, I meditate, and we'll call it a ritual that I do, but it was more like a job and a task instead of something that I really enjoyed doing, or that I did because I did it originally because I was trying to lift my vibration, or whatever,
Sure.
however you want to say it. But
Well, and we're told that you must have a morning ritual. You must bring spirituality into your life every day in some way. And so we find ways to do that.
we do. And then it became like a job, and then it became a habit. And there wasn't I'm going to use the word joy in it, because it had become so...
Well, there wasn't freedom in it for you.
No, there wasn't. Because it was very limiting, because it was like, all right, if I'm going to have a good day, I have to wake up and I have to do this, this, and this. So when you find your word or the energy or that frequency, don't be like, all right, I have to go on a hike today in the woods to get there, or I'm not going to have a good day. Like, it doesn't have to be that organized as well. And you can enjoy those things. Like, if I feel like going for a hike, that's a great thing, but I'm not going to stress myself out to go for a hike. Maybe I don't feel like it today. And there might be other ways. Maybe I can just go barefoot in the grass and ground and commune with nature. So again, don't make it so much of a ritual to try to find this energy or this vibration. It still has to feel good.
Yes.
It still has to be like a positive experience for you to get there.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. And I think we're having a human experience, and we tend to get really wrapped up in the spiritual aspect of it. We want to raise our vibration. We want to be in the spirit realm, where we're like always trying to achieve this other thing, but that isn't the point.
No.
We are bringing spirit into life, not trying to bypass the human experience. And I think we have to recognize that comes with trials, tribulations, hardships, challenges, whatever, and that we can come back to, on that cycle, that ascending spiral, come back to that place of alignment and frequency that feels good to us, especially when things are hard.
Yes.
So we use our spirituality, we use that connection to benefit, to help life, not to bypass life. And before we wrap up, I also wanted to mention something else about frequency, which is not necessarily related to this. But I was doing some healing work recently, and I got this download. Now, it used to be when I did chakra work, and a chakra was spinning really fast, that meant it was overworking. It was processing a lot. But now, because of all the energies we've received and everything that's coming in and all the upgrades that we are going through, both physically and energetically, the chakra speed is faster than it used to be. Especially if you've done a lot of healing work or personal growth work, our chakras have sped up. And I want to talk about this because I know a lot of people experience symptoms of anxiety and overwhelm, and it feels jittery in the body. And so I wanted to bring this up because if you are experiencing this sort of jittery, tingly, faster, it feels faster in the body, I want you to question, am I actually anxious in this moment, or is something else happening here? Because our chakras are speeding up. And until we acclimate to it, you can feel it.
Oh, yes.
And it feels like symptoms of anxiety because everything feels like it's moving faster, and it can be all the chakras at one time. It can be some of them. It depends on the frequencies we're receiving. If you watch the Schumann, it's so much. It's just like, it's not even worth talking about it anymore. Like, of course we had another timeline jump. Of course there's solar flares. Of course there's energy coming in, right? So
But this is true.
it's just like, oh, of course there was a timeline jump. Fine. Like, it doesn't even faze me anymore.
Right.
But because we're on the topic of frequency, I really suggest that you question, tap in with your body. Am I actually feeling anxious, or am I just feeling the speed up of my vibration? And know that, like, as soon as you notice it and you're like, okay, my chakras are running faster. Okay. The body sort of kind of immediately acclimates, and it's like, everything's okay, right? It's the mind that goes, oh my God, we're freaking out. I'm anxious. I need medication or whatever, right? And not to discount people who experience those things. And if you're listening, you're in a personal growth state, right? You are working on yourself. You are going to experience this speed up of your energetic body, and you're going to feel it physically. So don't assume you're having anxious or anxiety symptoms.
And it can be more than just anxiety. For example, when I lay on, I don't remember which side it is, but I'll hear my heartbeat. And it's like the head on the pillow, I hear it in my ears. And at first I did this, I jumped. I was like, oh God, is there something wrong with me? Like, is my blood pressure? Like, I went through all those things, and I'm like, I did that. I questioned. I'm like, all right, is there something really going on here? And I used the tool. The next morning I got up, I took my blood pressure, and my blood pressure was like better than average. And I was like, oh, okay, all right, so that's fine. So it is just this. And I didn't like run and jump and go to the doctor and say, look, I can hear my heartbeat. What's going on? But questioning it too. So it could be any other sort of symptom too, not just anxiety, but that faster pace of, all right, my heart's beating a little louder. Mm-hmm. Maybe not faster, but louder. And my immediate concern was, is there something wrong? And then I had to work through that too.
Right.
So,
and it could be, wow, I really feel it in my tummy. It's really like jumping, moving, churning. My mind is spinning. It could be any of your chakras. Or like I said, I've had moments where it was all of them. And I'm like, wow, I feel like I could levitate right off the ground because I feel my body spinning, right? I feel that energy increase. So my guides were like, this is normal. This is what's happening. It's fine. And to talk about it, to let people know it's okay, and you will acclimate, and it will all be fine, and you'll be used to this higher vibration, and it won't feel intense. But initially, it can feel intense. Yeah.
Yeah, so don't freak out. Ask the questions. And if you do feel that you need medical attention, obviously we're not saying don't do that. We're just saying question and think about it first.
Yeah. And if you struggle with your inner knowing and listening, I have a couple of tools going out this week. There's a meditation on YouTube for inner guidance. And there's a tool, a freebie. I'm on my newsletter, and it's also on the website, about tapping into your intuition. So some reading, some journal prompts, some activities to begin to work in a better way and strengthen your intuition. So if we're like you're saying ask, and you're like, ask who and how do I know? And I can't get out of my head. There's some tools available this week as well.
Perfect. I think that's wonderful.
So I hope this shifts some perspective for you, and that it at least opens some doors and like, okay, let me find what works for me. Because anytime you feel, and I'm going to make this really big blanket statement, anytime you feel you are in a box of have to, should, must, break the walls down, get out of the box and find what works for you. There are billions of people on the planet. There is not one way to do anything. Literally, there is not one way to do anything. And you're not here to do it like someone else. You're here to do it like you would do it, like your soul would have this experience, and only your soul would have this experience. Because if we were all having the same experience, what is the point of that?
Yeah, there isn't. There is none. And you can see it. Like when somebody does something and then you try to recreate it, it doesn't ever work out quite the same for you as it did for them. And that's because that was their experience and you're not finding your own, you're using somebody else's.
Yeah.
And not that there's not coaches or people out there that can assist you, but if you're trying to do it exactly like somebody else, it's not going to work for you.
There should be assistance to help you be you, not assistance to help you be like someone else.
Correct.
Yeah. So start thinking about it. Start thinking about, when do you feel lit up, and what are the feelings? What are the thoughts and the words and the actions that are happening in that moment? And what is the word for you? If it's a word, if it's simply an energy, go with it. Okay, it's this energy signature, and I know what this energy signature feels like, and you could name it anything you want to.
Right.
Give it a made-up name. I love made-up names. I love made-up words. Give it your own word. If it's something that cannot be described, make up a word that you know and you hold, and you can have a smile on your face, and you can embody that energy and be in that frequency as you move through life.
That's perfect.
Yeah.
I think that's great.
All right. Thank you for listening. Please like, follow, share, comment, all of the above, and we'll see you next week.
Bye.
Bye. Thank you for joining us. Until next week, in peace and love and light, this is Marnie.
And much love and appreciation, this is Natalie.